Hello, everyone. So, finally, remake announcement. It's about time. If for those in my live Twitch streams, if you're wondering why I haven't been super, oh my god, holy crap, unbelievably excited about it, it's not because I'm not looking forward to it. It's just you guys have a really, really bad habit of just assuming things before they're announced. It ended up being true. But, last few days, you guys have been asking me, so what do you think about the remake? You looking forward to the remake? What do you think about the remake? And you want to know the difference between those questions being asked now and those questions being asked back then? Nothing. You guys were asking me the same stuff half a year before it was even announced. It got kind of old after a while. But I did say I would talk about it more once it was announced. So, let's talk about it. Before we do, though, let's just watch the trailer real quick.
So why'd you leave Boston?
I've been on quite the adventure, little brother.
I reckon it's got something to do with that girl.
It's got everything to do with that little girl.
You know, I've never been this close. Is the outside?
So is that everything you hoped for?
Can't be any worse out there. Can it?
Once upon a time, I had somebody that I cared about. And in this world, that's good for one thing. Get you killed.
I can take care of myself!
How many close calls have we had?
I get into trouble down there. You make every shot count.
I got this.
Hope you know how to use that thing.
I've had some practice.
Thank God it's not that long away. I gotta say that. Okay, so the one thing on everybody's mind, is this project justified to exist? And I think it is, for 3 or 4 reasons. The first reason being, if you stop and take a look at the original game, some parts of it have aged. Here, let me, and I think one thing that's hurting this, the remake's marketing is all the comparisons you're seeing online right now are all comparing the original. When I say original, I mean the remaster, because the remaster looks a lot better than the original. The remake is being compared to the original's cutscenes. You're not seeing too many gameplay, because all we have is that trailer, So all the remake comparisons you're seeing are to the cutscenes of the original. And this isn't just me being a blind fanboy of Part 1. There's no bigger Part 1 fan than me in the entire world. I've devoted my life to playing this game. The original's cutscenes still hold up really, really well. In that regard, it's a really good-looking game. But take a look at this. This is where I think the project is really justified. And I always go back to this. Look at this. In the gameplay, Tess looks like shit here. I've always thought just this little part right here never looked good. Even in when it was originally released, I thought this never looked good. Cutscenes, she looks great. Everybody looks great. But when there's a cinematic in the middle of the gameplay, it never looked good. Even this guy, this part of the game just never ever looked that good to me. And then this came out only yesterday, I think. This is cutscene, and this is obviously cutscene as well. I think this looks fantastic, especially compared to here. What's happening here is I think they're a lot more. What's the word? Emotional. You can see a lot more emotions on here. I think on the left here, Tess is like, you know, she's indifferent, completely accepting of her fate here as they let Joel and Ellie escape. And over here, she looks sad and scared as fuck. Like, the movements are the same, you know? But over here, I'm not seeing as much emotion. And, you know, I equate that to her just being like, all right, let's get this over with. But here, she's just like, oh, shit. All right. I'm sad. You can see it more on the lips here, too. So in that regard, I think, again, it's not being marketed well comparing cutscenes to cutscenes. But I think when you get in the gameplay portion, it's going to look a lot better. Now, another area I think the remake is, I'm going to keep using this word again, but justified, is, well, let me show you. Here, we're in part 2 right now. The accessibilities, man. Let's just take a quick look at all of these accessibilities again. You know, in extras, you got gameplay modifiers, so mirror world, one-hit kills with bullets and combat, and then you got, like, audio changes. You've got all the accessibilities here, different control, all of these things. I probably spent, like, I think my first playthrough, I spent, like, 45 minutes. You can, like, button map your controls and everything. All of these settings. There's so many settings. The biggest ones, I think, are... well, they're just all right here. The combat accessibilities. Just this right here, you know. Say what you will about the game. They deserved every award they got when it came to the accessibility and audio features and everything. Like, blind people, blind and deaf people could play this game almost normally. Because of this. Now, if we skip back to part 1... magic. Let's take a look what they got. That's about it. It really is. Alright. Like, if you hit left on the left stick, the camera will go right. If you hit up on the right stick, the camera will go down. You know, there's that. But there isn't even camera sensitivity here. Only aiming sensitivity. And L1, R1. You got, like, a couple. But nowhere near as in-depth as part 2. So, again, I'm just assuming almost all of that is also going to be here. Again, biggest reason to justify the remake's existence. All of the things that won Part 2, those accessibility awards, just put it over here. I think that's really good. And while I'm here, another reason that, like, I'm happy that this remake is happening, it's releasing on PC. That is... I don't think I need this layout anymore, hold on. That is, like, a big deal. The only way you could play Last of Us on PC was if you used PlayStation Now. But for, like, a real, strictly PC release, there's never been anything Last of Us related out there. Not even the Uncharted 4 PC release, PC port, is out there. So I don't think it's releasing at the same time as PS5, but it'll come out eventually. And I think that's really cool. You know? There are more reasons than you think that this project is a good thing it's being made. And also, you know, if you think back to the original's release period, you had, you know, the original came out in June of 2013, and then 1 year and 1 month later, you know, the original was one of the last big PS3 titles released for the console, then the PS4s came out. So Naughty Dog remastered the game completely. And, you know, in my opinion, of course, my opinion is completely biased, but I think that was like the smartest thing they could have done. You went from 720p to 1080p, 30 FPS to 60 FPS. You got Left Behind included and the multiplayer remastered, all for $10 less than a full-priced game, with all the DLC included as well. That... oh, what a bargain that was. Because if the original was never remastered, I wouldn't have what I have. And I mean that seriously. You went from playing on one of these to playing on one of these. I have it wrapped in a clear case to protect it from like dust and stuff. You go from one of these to one of these, which is a way more comfortable controller in my opinion. And just, you know, the gameplay is just so much more responsive. I can't play like the way I do on the PS3 version. I just can't. The closest I came was I did a Left Behind any percent PS3 speedrun. But even that took me like a couple weeks to get a time that I wanted. And that was mainly because of the encounters. When I was fighting enemies, I swear the frame rate would dip to like 20. You get like a couple enemies on the screen shooting back at you, it would just plummet to, I would say, less than 20 FPS. So believe me, it was very well needed. But I kind of went off topic here. The big reason I think they did that, not because it was so desperately needed, in my opinion, but because it also gave the developers, you know, I know nothing about game development, but I imagine it gave them some insight as to what the PS4 hardware is capable of. You know? Like, Remastered was the first thing they ever put out, Naughty Dog ever put out on PS4. Nothing has, well, they did recently come out with the Legacy of Thieves collection, which is a straight-up remaster. But I think the Remake project, I think it's really a way for the developers to know what exactly they're working with here. You know, the PS5, obviously, the strongest console ever made. And you could argue the Xbox, but Naughty Dog ain't releasing games for Xbox. So I think this is also a really good way to get all of the developers used to the PS5 hardware, you know? So I think that's partially what they're doing as well. And it's not like they're just remaking a game to remake it. They, you know, Last of Us 2 is already out, obviously. And, you know, I assume that they're going to not completely copy-paste it over to Part 1. Like, if you listen to the trailer, all of the performances are exactly the same. The cutscenes side by side, it's not complete. It's, I kind of call it like a remakester. That's kind of what I'm referring to it as. A remake, you know, you got the Resident Evil remakes where, God, they're remaking like PlayStation 1 games or Sega games or whatever. You know, we're getting to the point now they're remaking a PlayStation 3 game. So obviously, you know, there's still charm in the original, but I don't know. There were points where, you know, I would go back and forth between the comparisons of the remaster and the remake and the cutscenes and be like, I can't tell which I prefer. You know, some I would actually prefer the remaster. And again, with the marketing, you're comparing cutscenes, and I feel like there's way better potential in comparing like gameplay cinematics or gameplay moments, which again brings me to the gameplay. I'm thinking, you know, the fact that they aren't re-recording any lines, that's, again, just from what I heard, the original performances are still in there. I can hear this kind of stuff. I think, you know, maybe they bring in some voice actors to record, like, are they going to have tired sprinting? Are they going to have dodging? Are they going to have prone position? Are they going to have, I could bring up some specific gameplay instances. If an enemy's aiming at you and you peek, you get shot immediately. Not in Part 1. So is that stuff going to be in there? Will they replace the pallet and dumpster puzzles for rope puzzles? You know, that stuff is just speculation. There's no way to know at all. But it looks and sounds like the performances are going to be exactly the same. When they start having conversations in the gameplay, I think is going to be exactly the same. And yeah, overall, I'm very excited for this project. There's also this. I did want to bring this up because, you know, I did see it. Here, take a look. They have the big blog post and everything talking about if you pre-order, you get this and this and this. You know, here's some more comparisons. It's moments like these, like I can't really pick one against the other, which just goes to the quality of the original, you know? Like, it looks different, but is it better? I don't know. We need to see it on our own screens, see them moving. You know, it's one of those things. Damn, the original was good for its time. Where is it? Right here. This caught my eye. Obviously, people told me about it. You know, explosive arrows, too. You know, that obviously wasn't in the original, but it was in Part 2. They're Part 2-ifying the original game. And I think that's pretty cool. And again, for all the reasons I listed, and I think it's nice that the developers get used to the hardware. But speedrun mode. Now, I don't know if I can take credit for this. I have some of the Naughty Dog devs follow me on Twitter. If I put up a record, they usually like the tweet and stuff. But I don't know what this is, Again, I could maybe take credit for them acknowledging the hobby, but this isn't new to Naughty Dog. The Nathan Drake collection had a speedrunning mode, but they Blue Point made that. So maybe like some devs played it and noticed a speedrunning mode. Let me switch again. Uncharted 4 also had a speedrunning trophy. I think it was beat the game on the easiest difficulty in under 6 hours or something. So it's not like completely brand new. Even with part 2, I bitch, whined, and complained enough so that they added seconds to the in-game timer, And we actually worked with but the director of communications, Arnie Mayer. He was in the speedrunning Discord trying to fix something that happened with the timer when they patched in frame rate. So I think it's just, the hobby growing. I think they just finally, they're going to put in their own mode. As for what it is, I have no idea, It could just be like the Nathan Drake collection. It could be, maybe there'll be a timer on the screen. Maybe that's it, But as for like the specifics beyond that, who knows? Again, it's just like the speculation with the gameplay tweaks. We can make speculations, but we won't really know until it's out in the open. So, yeah, I'm not sure what else to mention. Again, all we really have to go off of is a trailer. And from what I can hear and see, it's going to be a direct, like I said, remakester. Same performances, same dialogue. Beyond that, we don't really know what it is yet. The gameplay tweaks and all that. I'm hoping that they have the accessibilities, that they'll have grounded, that they'll have all those things. You're also getting Left Behind. One thing I forgot to mention. This is the one spot that's a little iffy to me. We're also getting Left Behind, as you saw from the trailer. Is this worth $70? Now, I'm a big Naughty Dog fan and everything. I don't think this is worth $70. I feel like it would be worth $50. Maybe even $60. But $70 is a full-priced game nowadays. And, with the remaster, you got, the remastered games. Last of Us, Left Behind, all the DLC, and a remastered multiplayer for $50. Back then, the full price of a game was $60. So you got all of those things for $50. Here, you're getting, the remake of the entire game. We're probably getting a lot more than we think. And Left Behind, no multiplayer. From what I read, there's not going to be any multiplayer remake associated with this for $70. That... I'm not saying a remake is lazy. This is obviously going to far surpass the look of the original, obviously. But is this worth $70? I don't think so. But if you look, the most expensive edition of the game is sold out. So from a business standpoint, they know what they're doing. But in terms of morals, I don't know. They already had the Part 2 assets. They weren't recapturing any footage. I'm not saying this is a cash grab. Like I said, there's a lot of potential for it selling well on PC because nothing Last of Us related has ever been on PC before, and all the other reasons I mentioned. But $70? Morally, I think it should be $50. But it's $70. A sucker like me will obviously pay for it. But yeah. Again, a lot of the questions we have will be answered the day that we play it. What exactly is it going to be? I can even think of an example right now. In Part 1, if you walk up to an enemy that isn't alerted yet and hit square, you just punch them. That's it. In Part 2, you walk up to an enemy that they don't know you're there and hit square, you kill them. Everyone knows you're there, but it's an insta-kill. So, little tiny things like that Is it going to be there? Death animations, everything. Like I can't wait to just like go over it with a fine-tooth comb. But again, as for continuing to talk and talk and talk about it, we're just going to have to wait and see once it releases. And then I'll do a pretty in-depth like similarities and differences things with the original compared to the original and even compared to part 2. Is it going to be a complete copy-paste of part 2? I don't know. Like, is Joel going to be tired sprinting? Is he going to have to punch, dodge, or will they react to his punches? I don't know. Just going to have to wait and see. So yeah, I'm probably forgetting some points, but I'm excited. People were asking me, like, are you excited for it? Yes, I'm excited. Obviously, I'm excited for it. This is going to drag out another 2 or 3 years of content for me. Anything Last of Us related is good for me personally, you know? So, yeah. And again, I always kind of assumed this was being worked on, really because of how much you guys were asking me about it, even before it was announced. You know, you see these rumors and leaks. It seems like nothing ever gets released genuinely now. It's either leaked on beforehand or rumored to be in the works, accidentally leaked. So all these things with the questions and the leak, I kind of assumed it was being worked on, but I obviously didn't know. And I come from a perspective of I see it as a waste of time to talk about a rumored project. I like, you know, talking about it more once it's released or once it's announced officially. I'm glad this time we don't have to wait too long to play it. 2.5 months from today, I think. I don't know. It's not that long. We waited 3.5 years for part 2 once it was announced. So this'll be a breeze. All right. So yeah, that's about it. I'm sure I'll think of something else to say after I end the video, but yeah. Let's just be patient, wait for it to release, and see exactly what it is. And yes, I'm looking forward to it. All right. See you. Bye.